Hello everybody, welcome to one more video on big units of World War One. This one is a French infantry corps for the period of 1915 to 18. So you can see virtually the main assets of the French army, exceptuating the early period in which the French had that very colorful uniform of 1914, of course, with the red pants. So this is based for and organized for the, as usual, for the Great War Spearhead 2 set of rules by Sean Taylor. So this is an infantry corps that is best, in fact, used for late war, because you can see only here, as you could see with the Germans, 3 regiments per division. In fact, for most of the war, the French had 4 regiments. But as everybody knows, from at the beginning of the war, there was plenty of people to fill the ranks. Problem was that with casualties, and especially with the usage of most of the army personnel and its allocation to the artillery, I read somewhere that in late war, French army had 80% of their personnel allocated to artillery. It means that there weren't that many people for the infantry arm. So 3 regiments per division. The usual organization for most of the armies of this period in terms of Great War Spearhead 2, which is 4 companies per battalion, 3 battalions per regiment. British had 4, and the ones that were organized according to the British organization were having 4 regiments. French, Germans, most of the armies had 3. So you can see here also the MGs of each of the infantry battalions. You can see the same a little bit everywhere in terms of infantry. You can also see in each regiment one of those funny 37mm support guns. You can also see a command stand. In terms of division, you can see in both divisions, you can see a squadron of an element of cavalry, a command element, and you can see here those funny 86mm air compressed mortars. These are scratch built things. The same here for the second division. In terms of infantry, this is it. Now for some assets of the corps, the cavalry corps is here, both mounted and also the machine gun. So this is complete. The artillery is still very incomplete. There should be plenty of 75mm, those 1897mm famous guns. I only have 6 to fulfill what is necessary for one of the divisions. There's still, second division has none of these guns, and the corps artillery still hasn't also these guns. So there are very old 150mm howitzers here for the artillery corps. There is 120mm Schneiders, and there is only one. There should be 3 Grand Puissance Filiou 155mm guns. So for the artillery, this is it. Now for tanks, you can see here the first model of that the French had, which is the Saint-Chamond. Sorry, no Saint-Chamond, Schneider. Sorry, the Schneider tanks. They're here, 2 companies of them. Then yes, okay, the Saint-Chamond comes. 2 different models. One equipped with the Saint-Chamond gun, the other one equipped with the 1897mm gun, which forced the design of the tank to be different. As you can see, there's a complete straight roof, and there is a triangular roof in the second model. Finally, for tanks, you can see here a large group of 10 FT-17s. One of them is a command version, the TSF command version, and the others are both 37mm armed and Hotchkiss gun armed. It repeats on the 3 companies. So this is for the tanks. Now a little bit of aviation, not much. You can see here a Sopwith strutter here. You can see here a Breguet 14 and two SPAD, one SPAD 13 and one SPAD 7. So this is the what I have for this core. There is, of course, then there is a command for the whole core here. I differentiate each both the division stands. You can see here division stands here. I differentiate them from the army from the core stand by the number of figures. 3 for the division, 4 for the core command. Now a little bit for the brands and a few more details. For instance, you can see here this regiment here. You can see here that gray capote. This capote was issued to some French infantry regiments when the Bleu Horizon, which is more famous, of course, here, was not available, or at least the dye that could place this beautiful blue color into the French uniforms was not that available. So they were using this gray tone. But majority, as you can see, is Bleu Horizon, as you can see. Uh, all virtually maybe what 90% of the figures that you see here are Revel, also for the machine guns. Then you can see here also some conversions. For instance, the third the Revel box only carries two guys to man the machine gun, the Hotchkiss machine gun, the 8mm Hotchkiss machine gun. So I turned that relatively useless in terms of wargaming, at least. There is a guy firing the Lebel rifle on the ground, laying down. I converted some of them to observers with a pair of binoculars in their hands, just by, I mean, twisting a little bit the arms with fire, and and squashing a little bit of the rifle in order to have a pair of binoculars, and then painting some details on it. You can see it everywhere. There are also some converted MGs. I was out of MGs from Revel very quickly because I used plenty also of them for World War II. So I used some, for instance, these are Strelets. This is the Shoshan fighter turned into a Hotchkiss fighter. Here the same. You can see others. For instance, this is that very funny but relatively useless also British wounded soldier. So with new arms and a new head, of course, he became a reasonable MG fighter. You can see it in other regiments here, for instance. There are more of them. So this is a way not only to, I mean, to made up a little bit the new positions and to make some variation, but also it's a way to save some extra boxes that would be bought only for the usage of the machine guns, which is relatively useless. The machine guns themselves are also, I mean, for instance, this one comes from the Foreign Legion, from one of the Foreign Legion boxes of of Strelets, and these ones came from Hat Industries box of American infantry in terms of machine guns. There are also some old airfigs in the middle. The cornets also have as you can see, the rifle on their backs, which is an addition. You can see here also some Pegasus poilu here. More airfigs over there, but most of them, as I told you, are in fact Revel. There are also some command stands with Hat Industries figures from the 1914 box, and this 37mm is also a made up thing. This is mostly based on that figure I told you. Some of the Pegasus figures that are relatively useless when they are firing laying down, firing the Lebel. Both this one, for instance, you can see here to the left is Pegasus, and this one to the right is the one from Revel. So these figures can have a new life by manning this 37mm gun. The 37mm gun itself, the barrel is from AJT, from the American box, and the support is scratch built. So 6 of these for the regiments, 1 for regiment. Cavalry. Cavalry is the driver, is the World War II driver of hat industries, with a new lance made of broomstick, and horses are coming from Napoleonic sets with some extra evergreen to hide those pistols that Napoleonic cavalry had on the back of the horse's head. So more here. This is also scratch built. The MG, the cavalry MG, is also scratch built. The gun and everything with Napoleonic wheels. Then pieces of plastic in order to make it. Also Napoleonic horses. And this thing wouldn't be possible, at least for me, without the precious help of GBM, which is probably the best wargaming, and not, it's not in fact a dedicated wargaming magazine, but it's extremely helpful for wargamers and for modelers in general, and for the ones who like to know about French army in both world wars, and even in the interim period between the wars. Plenty of information, and their graphics and their level of detail is absolutely amazing. It's a magazine that I really recommend. Artillery, everything here is, as you can see, irregular miniatures. Here the figures are Skytrax for the Schneider guns. Irregular miniatures again for this Grand Puissance Filiou. The gun itself is Albi. These ones here, this 75mm, are, the artillery is completely scratch built from several sets. I used the figures that I had. I twisted arms, cut them, and made evergreen arms. A number of things, a number of injuries I had to make them. I had to made into them. You can see the officer that is pointing now. He has the arms in a much less active position. And the guns themselves are 3D prints from Mini General. Here, everything is irregular miniatures, both guns and crew. Here the same. The aircraft, the Sopwith Strutter, is die-cast model. I'm not sure exactly which brand. Same with this Breguet. I made it many years ago. I remember ordering from Hanens. Hanens has a very big catalog of these kind of things. I mean, I don't really remember the brand. These two, I made them more recently. I know what they are. This is an Academy SPAD 13, and this is the famous SPAD 7 of Guilherme, one of the biggest French aces of World War One. Vieux Charles, as Guilherme called to his aircraft. His name was in fact Charles Guilherme. This guy died with 21 years old, if I'm not mistaken, after putting down some more than 50 German aircraft. And for tanks, which is I think one of the final things. But before tanks, let me show you just the 86mm mortar. You can see it here. It's a complete scratch built thing from the AJT Newton mortar that comes with the American box. So you can see here some AJT French World War II figures, and some extra pieces to make the 86mm air compressed mortar. The bottle is here. The air bottle is here. Made from a World War II or modern bomb, I don't know. Piece of wire attached to the mortar. It becomes, I mean, very close to the original weapon. Okay, and the last thing is tanks. These the Schneiders are regular miniatures. All of them painted slightly differently. The FT-17s are Matchbox, that famous box that comes with the Charles Biombis. and this one is a metal one by Skytrax. And a final word for my favorite, in fact, which is the Saint-Chamond tanks. This is the first model. It is I don't really remember if it is retro kit or Albi, one of them. In those days, it was the only way. Maybe, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago, it was one of the few places where I could find it. It was in France. So this guy has the older version of the gun, the Saint-Chamond gun, and then very nice built Hotchkiss guns, poking everywhere from the tank itself. And the second version is this one here, also different camouflage. And this one is the one that is in Saumur museum, painted with this camouflage, which I hope to be a real thing. This one was also painted many years ago, so probably it is right. So this is the French Infantry Corps. I think I've showed you a little bit of everything. Just a note, I didn't build all this since the last video on the German Corps of World War One. Most of these things were already built for decades, some of them. Most of the infantry, at least this entire division, was glued to some very ugly pieces of card, 6 centimeter by 2. There were 4 of them per base, so they were, of course, rebased. Only these things here these 3 regiments are made new. Also, the cavalry is made new. The command bases are also new. The 37mm guns are also new. But you can see, all aircraft are old. At least these two are new. But all the artillery you can see here is very old. This one is also new, but this one is also old, maybe 20, 30 years old. I'm not really sure. So a good part of these things, also the entire tanks, the full several companies of different tank models are all built maybe, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago. So, in just a few weeks, I could paint very quickly these extra units and manage to fill French corps for Great War Spearhead. Look, one of the things that helps me also to paint quickly is that I'm not painting as in my usual way of shading and like priming and things like that. No, the figures are just simply washed. They are primed with PVA glue and they are block painted. So this thing speeds pretty well the painting procedures. And in fact, I did this with these units of World War One exactly because, as these guys are old, they were painted in that way. So there is no improvement. I tried not to improve the painting method in order not to create differences between the units. So those things, everything here seems to have been painted more or less at the same time, which in fact they weren't, as I told you. So I hope you have enjoyed the French Infantry Corps from more or less 1915 to 1918. It is a system, this 6th Regiment is a system used in 1918 mostly. Of course, maybe in time I'll add another regiment here and another regiment here. And like this, the corps with 8 regiments can be used for the 1915 up to 1917 battles. So I hope you have enjoyed and see you next. Whether with some Portuguese or British, I still don't know exactly what will come out. Okay, of course, most of these things I'm mentioning are also partially made because they are glued to those ugly strips of card I told you, and they are going to be rebased. And of course, a few units and a few stands will be built from new. Will be completely new. Okay, it was a pleasure. Bye bye. See you soon.